Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. The Independent newspaper has been one of the leading sources of misinformation about climate and energy in the United Kingdom. In 2004, they said that if we kept burning fossil fuels, everybody was going to have to move to Antarctica because the rest of the world would be too hot. To put this in perspective, autumn and winter in Antarctica last year was the coldest on record. It's so cold in Antarctica that even penguins struggle to survive.
As temperatures reach 40 below, even the adults' only chance of survival is to huddle together. They start to waddle with a single purpose.
But the goal of the Independent isn't to inform people, rather it's to scare them about fossil fuels. In 2010, they announced that the 2014 IPCC report was going to be dramatically worse. So apparently the United Nations reached their conclusions years before the science was actually done. In 2009, the Independent and Prince Charles announced that we only had 8 years to save the planet from global warming. A few months ago, they announced a huge ozone hole over the tropics. And they said this could affect 50% of the global population. The story was complete nonsense, but once again, facts don't make any difference to the UK Independent. Their goal is to scare people. 2 years ago, they quoted Boris Johnson saying, "The climate crisis is far more destructive than coronavirus." And now Oxford, where I used to live, is having climate lockdowns. This article from 23 years ago is probably the most famous climate misinformation from the Independent. They announced that snowfalls in Britain are now just a thing of the past. They quoted Dr. David Viner, a senior research scientist at the Climatic Research Unit of the University of East Anglia, saying, "Children just aren't going to know what snow is." They said that they were presenting science which is now accepted as a reality. But today they have a different story. UK weather. New ice alerts issued as Arctic winds could bring temperatures of minus 10 degrees Celsius. Severe cold snap sweeps in on Arctic winds, bringing snow and potentially blizzard conditions. What they're saying, though, isn't quite true. It is going to be extremely cold in Britain, but there's also going to be very little wind. During the coldest days of winter and the hottest days of summer, there tends to be little, if any, wind in Britain. Wind power fails just when you need it the most, during the coldest weather and the hottest weather. But reality didn't make any difference to Boris Johnson, who pledged to power all UK homes with wind by the year 2030. This idea obviously wasn't going to work. You can't shut the country down for 9 days at a time because the wind's not blowing. People will freeze to death if you do that. So where did Boris Johnson get these crazy ideas from? Probably from his wife, Carrie Simons. She's been pushing for the UK government to shut down fossil fuels for a long time. So let's take a look at Carrie Simons' background. She's the daughter of the co-founder of the Independent newspaper. The same newspaper which has been spreading all of this climate and energy misinformation for decades. And now the Independent reports that 4 in 10 households in Britain are facing fuel poverty. The Guardian is the other primary source of climate and energy misinformation in the United Kingdom. And they say that 2/3 of UK families could be in fuel poverty by January. The Guardian and the Independent have done everything they could to get the reliable supply of energy in the United Kingdom shut down. And now they seem to be bragging about the damage which they intentionally created. And it's not just energy that's the problem. Food prices are being driven up because of the high energy prices as well. This sort of madness is common across Western Europe. A few days ago, the German paper Bild reported, "Germany has been in the dark doldrums for a week. No sun, hardly any wind." And they asked, where will our electricity come from? A lot of people like myself have been asking these questions for a long time, and when we do, we get censored by papers like The Independent. I posted this comment on their website. It's been almost 22 years since the Independent ran this headline. Snowfalls are now just a thing of the past. And the Independent deleted it, saying I violated their community guidelines. Apparently their community guidelines don't allow people to tell the truth. Toto's been pulling back the curtain on this intentional destruction of the energy supply for almost 15 years. You can visit him, Kyrie Caesar, Toki, Upala, and the 4 new puppies on the web at realclimatescience.com.